Pastor Damien has asked me to share a testimony of what God has done. So almost 2 weeks ago, I was walking around Zoo Lake. It's just a local park, and a man stopped me and asked me for financial help. So I just had my jacket and my front door key with me. So I asked him, what did he believe in Jesus? So he told me Jesus is the way to the Father, Jesus died for the forgiveness of his sins, and that God has a plan for his life. I asked him, how did he know all of this? And he explained that during lockdown, a man had come to the park and had told him all about Jesus, and he led him to the Lord. And then shortly after that, a lady came to the park and told him about a local shelter and had paid for him and his brother to stay at the shelter for 2 months, which included food. And now they were back living in the park, and they were trying to raise the 150 Rand each, which they needed for the shelter, which included food and the shelter. So I told him about the miracles of Jesus, about the coin in the fish's mouth, and about Jesus multiplying the bread and the fish. And then we prayed for the balance of the money they needed for the shelter. He had 70 Rand and his brother had 3 Rand 50 at the time. And we also prayed for a new pair of shoes for him and for a Bible. And then 5 days later, I was just walking on my way home, just a few doors from home, and somebody calls me, and it's Reginald, and he's in the neighbor's flower bed, just working in the garden there. And he says he's just amazed to see me, and he reminds me that we had prayed just a few days earlier. And he's finishing off this job, and he's paid 300 Rand, which is exceptionally well paid, and it's the exact amount of money needed for 2 people to stay at the shelter for a month. He's just blown away how God's exceeded his expectations. And my landlord gives him a pair of his shoes. For me, I was just I just marveled at the fact that 2 strangers in a big city, Johannesburg, should meet at the exact time that a prayer is being answered. And then when I thought about it, I thought how Jesus said, where 2 of us, if we agree touching anything, it's done. And that Jesus said, just ask anything in my name and I will do it. And that this is the confidence that we have, that when we pray, if we know that he hears us, we know that we have the petitions that we've asked from him, if we ask in accordance with his will and in his name. And he said, Jesus also told us that if we abide in him and his words abide in us, we'll ask anything in his name and he'll do it. And when I thought a little bit about Reginald's life, I thought about the man who came and led him to the Lord, and then the lady that paid for the shelter. And I thought about how Paul writes, how one person sows the seed, another waters, but God gives the increase. And so it's my heart's desire and prayer that the good work that God has started in Reginald's life, that he will complete it. Amen.